Good evening, everybody. See that I've already got a couple folks on here. Let me say hello real quick. So we have Tom Armstrong saying, "Hey, Spencer." Good evening, Tom. Thanks for being here. Y'all, it is the 20th of February, 26. Quite a busy day or two the last few days. I am Spencer Cat here with the Hillbilly Think Tank, and I am located in Tunnel Hills. I am the educated hillbilly. No, that's not an oxymoron. Don't call me a moron. Y'all, here in Tunnel Hills, part of Hardin County, Kentucky, we live for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We know that united we stand, divided we fall, and that there's nothing better than serving our neighbors because we love our neighbors as ourselves. So, y'all, I'm running for magistrate in District 3 here in Hardin County. Now, it's been a very interesting day. If you followed the news, we know that the Supreme Court of the United States has determined that all these tariffs that have been making us feel the pain of this horrendous economy, they decided that Dementia Don could not impose these tariffs without Congress putting them forward for a vote and then sending them to him for final approval. It has to be something that they send to him because they control the purse strings for the United States budget. Well, Dementia Donnie did not like that at all. He went on a crazy rant for 8 minutes. If you didn't see it, hopefully you did. Well, actually, it might burden your soul too much to have to listen to it. It just was discombobulated and all over the place. But once again, this is my month of freedom from buying balderdash from a balding, bombastic billionaire, Jeff Bezos. 20 days into it, 20 days into my fast from fascism. I am trying to wean myself, and I am successfully doing it, from supporting fascists that support this crazy regime and do not push back. So I'm pushing back on Amazon, pushing back on Jeff Bezos. Who else we got over here? Let's see. We got a shout out from Philly. Shout out Trump, greatest president I've ever seen over there and greatest leader in the world right now. Okay. So we are pushing back here and we're buying local. I don't need to spend all my money on Bezos and Amazon when I've got great places to go spend money here in Hardin County. Many local businesses have everything I need, plus more. Plus, hey, this is Fish Fry Friday, the beginning of it. So today was a great day to go out, local places, local churches, local Mason halls, and get some fried fish for Friday. Good time. All right, Tom says, sipping on some Old Foe as I settle down for the evening. Yeah, Old Forester is awesome. Nothing much. Well, I'm a Maker's Mark guy, but I also like Old Forester. One of my go-tos when I'm not going to Maker's Mark. So, y'all, the Constitution, we know it calls for a separation of powers between legislative branch, executive branch, and the Supreme Court of the United States. Problem is, for one whole year, the Supreme Court decided the legislative and judicial power over POTUS, their checks on him, is something they weren't going to bother with because they said that the President of the United States, Dementia Don, is immune from prosecution as long as he's doing his duties as the President of the United States. Well, now they're going to push back on that? Really? After one whole year of allowing him to run rampant. Now, after sleepy dawns, tariffs have waged war all over our economy. These 9 robed men and women on First Avenue Northeast in DC, they think they're going to be able to slap the hand of the world's biggest orange petulant baby. He doesn't think so. He's become used to throwing tantrums, flinging his feces at America after he soils his diapers and making us clean it up. Well, it's costing us too much to clean up. It's hitting our pocketbooks way too deep. Yeah, what do your pocketbook say? We're each spending at least $1,000 more per year than we did last year. To me, that's significant. So again, the Supreme Court of the United States has say that they're removing all of his tariffs and that Congress has to impose tariffs. That Dementia Don can't unilaterally impose tariffs. Well, what did he do? He went on a rant about Democrats wanting to pack the Supreme Court with 21 justices instead of 9. What was that apropos of? Nothing, since he is the POTUS with the mostest right now. He's the one in there. These are his majority Supreme Court justices, but they pushed back. He can't take it. So we had to go on some strange rant about Democrats wanting to pack the Supreme Court with 21 justices. Well, Democrats don't want to do that because they can't do that while he's in office. So it was just a rant. He got on a rant about 100 topics in 8 minutes. All those topics and those points had nothing to do with the central idea, except for the fact that he is throwing a shit-eating temper tantrum. So, yeah. Now, what is that Supreme Court really going to do? You know, we're under the 4-year term of the guardians of the pedophiles president. These guardians of the pedophiles, they're not pushing back. Or are they? Now, we know that his rant about the Supreme Court and Democrats want 21 justices, well, they don't when he's going to elect them. It's just a bunch of hooey. But he went on, like I said, topic after topic that were completely unlinked to a central idea. And in the end, he said he is now installing a universal national security tariff of 10% on all the countries in the world. So the petulant baby is causing us to go into a constitutional crisis. So what's the Supreme Court going to do? How can they force the removal of these tariffs that Dementia Don labels as a universal national security tariff when they have told the president he is immune to prosecution? Dementia Don said he is ignoring the Supreme Court. So, is our government a system of 3 co-equal branches once again? What do you think? That's the question of the night. Will lifting Trump's tariffs even matter? We know that we have told Canada and Greenland that they will be the 51st and 52nd state, whether they like it or not. And if they don't do it voluntarily, we'll force it with our military. Now, if I went to my neighbor next door here and said, you will give me your house either voluntarily or I'll come assault it, my neighbor's not going to want to share sugar with me anymore. He's not going to want to share Christmas cards with me more, or his family. And he's not going to even want to talk over the fence to me. How can we expect Canada now, that the Supreme Court may or may not have, according to Donald Trump, lifted the tariffs? According to Trump, he just added some more in a different way that he says he can do. So if the tariffs are actually gone, is Canada all of a sudden tomorrow going to start buying Kentucky bourbon again. As we know, the Kentucky bourbon industry has been hit hard. Jim Beam this year has so much bourbon left in the rick houses, they're not producing any more bourbon this year. Our industry has been hit a wallop. This is a big part of our Kentucky branding, a big part of our Kentucky industries, big part of our employment. Our farmers grow the grains that make this wonderful bourbon in the state. But are Canadians now going to all of a sudden say, oh yeah, we're going to start buying your bourbon tomorrow? No, they're not. They're terrified of us as a crazy neighbor that threatens to invade their house. I'm not going to start. If my neighbor did that to me, I would not invite them over for Sunday dinner. I wouldn't even invite them over for a cookie. So we cannot expect Canada to say, oh, hey, come on, sell us some bourbon now. We're tired of our own Crown Royal and Pendleton whiskey. We can't expect them to say, hey, we want some of your soybeans, because those soybeans already rotted. They didn't get harvested and sold to China or to Canada this year. That hurt Hardin County. It hurt all of our farming communities across the state of Kentucky and across the nation. Are people just going to be our friends all of a sudden after we try to and threaten to attack them? After we constantly are setting them on edge? Are they now going to, because the Supreme Court said there aren't going to be any more tariffs unless Congress approves them, are we all of a sudden going to have friends again? Is Europe going to forget the fact that they had to send troops to peaceful Greenland because we threatened Denmark when we threatened Greenland? Because Greenland is a protectorate of Denmark. So all of the major European Union countries had to send some troops over to Greenland, thinking that we were going to come invade, as we said we were going to, if they would not give themselves up to us and become our state. Has the European Union forgotten now that they had troops in Greenland waiting for our attack and 5,000 more in Europe ready for a rapid deployment if we did attack Greenland? Are they going to forget that now that this petulant little baby is throwing more shit since he's extremely angry about the tariffs? Or are they listening to the fact that he's saying, I'm putting a universal tariff on everyone as a national security issue? So tomorrow, I don't expect the European Union to say, hey, what do you have to sell us, United States? What do you have to sell us, North Atlantic Treaty Organization member or trading partner? They're not going to do it tomorrow. We have not just burnt bridges with our best friends in the world, with our best trading partners in the world. We have napalmed the bridges 5 times over. So I do not expect that this will end tomorrow morning when I wake up. All right, Tom, let's see what you have to say before I keep going on. Saying some more good stuff. Tom said, got to help some folks move some furniture from owner to owner today. Hey, that's a good reason to sip on some Old Forester, as you said. Hey, they got someone else on here. Mark Thornton. Trump has been a horrible president. Project 2025. Here we go. We were warned. You're right. Tom said, I saw a social media post saying that the closure of the Blue Oval plant was a case of fuck around and find out. because so many Hardin County folks voted for the Orange Menace. Tom says, I pushed back that the workers at Blue Oval had voted to unionize and were not as much the red voters. I completely agree, Tom. The folks at Blue Oval SK had voted to unionize, so they were not as much the red voters as was being said. Steve says, congratulations, Spencer. You've got a bot. Yeah, I did have a bot earlier, didn't I? I'm trying to decide if that's a good thing or a bad thing. If I'm noticed enough to get a bot, who knows? Maybe it's a good thing. All right, guys. So again, our former friends that were friends that we went through World War I with, World War II with, many of them were in Vietnam with us. All of them were in Afghanistan fighting alongside me and fighting alongside all the other U.S. troops. Deep in combat, unlike what Dementia Don says. They were deep on the front lines with us, fighting and dying alongside of us. Those folks will not forget that after these many years of developing bonds of blood and kinship, we have shit on this goodwill that they had for us by threatening to attack Canada and saying we were going to attack Canada if they wouldn't become a state, preparing to attack Greenland, as we said we were doing, if they wouldn't become our state. They're not going to forget it. They're not going to let go just like that. We wouldn't either if it was us. So, what are we going to do now? We are going to have a trade deficit. Yeah, we might be able to buy stuff now without tariffs, maybe, just because the Supreme Court said they're removing the tariffs that we put on these countries. That does not mean that all those countries are going to unilaterally tomorrow morning remove the tariffs that they went ahead and put on us after we put tariffs on them. So we have to remember that. So it doesn't mean that everything's going to start plummeting in price-wise. You know, the BRICS countries, which have now gotten to be very strong together, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, Argentina. You know, they have not, South Africa is the S, they have not needed us now for a full year since we started these tariffs. And they've realized there's so much money just in trading among those countries together. They don't need to trade with us anymore. They got plenty of money amongst themselves to trade back and forth. They don't need our small market. Our market has very much dwindled and diminished worldwide. Folks are like, okay, we don't care if you don't buy our stuff. We're not going to sell you anything. Go do your own thing. Well, our economy right now, our pocketbooks are feeling that. They don't trust us among our friends and even those frenemies in BRICS countries, because many of them are actually enemies, not even friends. But they definitely aren't going to come back and say, oh yeah, let's just get together again, sing Kumbaya, and drop our tariffs. No, they're tired of going back and forth on the tariffs. I imagine many of them will go and keep their tariffs on us. They don't need our dwindled market. So what does that mean? What are we going to do? How are we going to come out of this? You know, it's the American farmers that have really lost the most alongside just the regular American consumer. And our bourbon distilleries, which I'm so proud of, they've really been hit hard. And I don't see Canada just jumping in this week and saying, yeah, let's start buying Kentucky bourbon again. And that is an extreme shame. So what are we going to do? How are we going to come out of this? Are we going to demand a real change? Are we going to go to the polls in droves and overcome this dementia, this Alzheimer's addled so-called leader? Or are we going to sit back and watch it all crumble? The European Union's not going to come rescue us. Canada's not going to come rescue us. China has no reason to come rescue us. They want our power to diminish. They're excited now to see that BRICS are all the power. So at the same time that this is happening, we know that over in England, they've actually said, hey, we're not going to stand by anymore for a two-tiered justice system. Without even telling the King of England, their legal authorities in England went in and arrested the King's brother, Prince Andrew, for his crimes that he committed on Epstein Island. This is justice. Not only did he have his royalty status stripped from him, he now is being treated as the criminal that he is. He's going to roll over. So our Epstein class may be desperate, may become very, very desperate now. What are we going to do about it? Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a constitutional crisis. There's supposed to be checks and balances in our three branches of government. They have not been there for a very long time now. We must bring them back. At the same time this is happening, United States troops are also on high alert for rapid deployment to Iran. Our U.S. warships are massing in the Persian Gulf once again for combat. Our Air Force jets are flying all over the Middle East, preparing for bombing. So what are we going to do about that? Is Dementia Don just going to be running all over, flinging feces day in, day out now, like the petulant little man-child baby that he is? What are we going to do about it? Well, we've got Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna from California, Kentucky Congressman, Republican Massey here in Kentucky has said together they put together a bill asking for Congress to bring back the war powers back to Congress like it's supposed to be, so that it has to have congressional approval for us to go to war with Iran and not Trump's whims. Will that work? Has Congress had enough? Will they support this bill? The vast majority that can't be voted down, vetoed by the president. That's yet to be seen. At the same time, across the nation, many kids in school houses and districts all around this nation have been protesting the ICE atrocities. Kids in middle schools and high schools are tired of the corruption, tired of seeing their neighbors, kids that they ride the school bus with, disappear. The parents of kids disappear while kids are at school. They're all aware of this, painfully aware of this. So much so that in Oklahoma, Governor Stitt decided to suspend 100 students for staging a peaceful protest, a peaceful walkout at a high school there. Same thing is being going on. It's going on right now in Virginia. It's happening in our state. Kids are trying to tell their parents, hey, we should be fair in this country. We should not be worse than Iran. In Iran, they're holding protests, peaceful protests, and their government is attacking them. The kids see this. They know that if we don't want it to happen in Iran, it should not be happening here in our country. And the kids are protesting. If the kids are doing that, what are we doing? So, as I pause, let's look and see. What do you have to say here? What does our bot have to say now? So we got a bot. Bot's back. Unions or something we've got to get back to supporting. That's not the bot. That's Steve. Steve's still there. I know Trump has absolutely destroyed what goodwill and respect we had in the world. Yes, he has. Sure has. Christian says, what's this? Christian Nunez Matos. Munich Mama, or Munich Maniac. Trump is doing such a great job. There's the bot that I was speaking of. Democrats are the only problem in America. All right, bot. Steve, did you see the son of Norwegian crown princess who went with her to Epstein Island was arrested? There we go. So royalty in other countries that are democratic but still have some royals, those royals are being arrested. The Epstein class over there is not getting away with it. That is something we should take note of. We should not allow our Epstein class to act as if they are royalty. They can get away with anything, that they are above the law. They're not, but they have been. There is a two-tier justice system. We must stop it. So on that note, here is what's happening in Memphis this week. Peaceful protesters protesting peacefully. The Memphis Police Department tells the Tennessee Highway Patrol to leave the protesters alone in the city of Memphis. But here's what the Highway Patrol of Tennessee, from a post that's not even in Memphis, decided to do.
I'm around the corner here, too.
So once again, ICE is still in Memphis. They are down there doing the same things they were doing in Minnesota. Memphis is not very far from us at all. But are we going to pay attention to this, or are we just going to have, again, more of a two-tiered justice system? The Epstein files are still not fully released. We didn't even get half of them. And yet, what are we going to do about it? Again, students are seeing this. They see how people their age, young girls, were treated. They don't like it at all. And they're walking out of schools to protest it peacefully, doing more than most of the adults are doing. So y'all, I refuse this blasphemy against the U.S. Constitution. I am calling for universal justice for all, not just justice for poor folks, against poor folks, not punishment against poor folks that do stuff only. When the rich do evil, atrocious things, there should be justice for those that they commit the evils against. That's what I'm calling for. I am not a fortunate son, but I am blessed to live here in a county, in a state where we say, united we stand, divided we fall. And I will stand against these forces of the Epstein class as they try to pit each one of us against the other. Because we know here in Hardin County and in Kentucky, we know how to build a community that we must have a strong vision within. And that strong vision is for our country's future and our children's future. And our children's future should not have any more of the Epstein class molesting them. Y'all, if you would, remember, buy local, support your local farmers, your local businesses. Like and subscribe to this channel. Vote for me for Hardin County Magistrate, District 3. And we can take back what the Epstein class has tried to destroy. So, Kentucky, united we stand, divided we fall. We are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. We love our neighbors as we love ourselves, because we know we love ourselves, we love our neighbors, we can't be divided, and then we can't fall. Bless your corazon. Have a wonderful evening and a great weekend.